Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody to another edition of Hot Program. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast, and as always, good people, I am in airplane mode. And now a man who will be as busy as a beaver for the next few weeks. A man who just got his truck back after more than 2 years. A man who needs no introduction. A man with a baby who looks like it's made of nacho cheese.
You can show her pictures.
I don't know how. Do you have it on
can,
your Instagram or something?
no, I don't.
All right, we'll find a
Maybe
way to
next
send
week.
you. Maybe
I'll
right.
email them to you so you could do it on your
Yeah, I was
computer.
gonna say if you email it to me, then I could show it. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh wait,
All
I
right.
have it on my iPad. I have her on my iPad.
Okay.
Let's show my cheesy baby. Where's she at in here?
Boom.
Oh, that didn't work
There you
out well.
go. Looks
It's the
at first it
contrast.
looks like a bomb or something. I was like, what is oh, I see. Look at that. Look at that. Cheddar
And then
cheese
there's
baby.
cheddar cheese. So there's another one where she looks like an Egyptian pharaoh.
Yes,
The mummy of an Egyptian
the
pharaoh.
bun is still early in the baking process in the
Yeah,
oven.
I'm sorry, folks. I'll email
We'll
Pocket
get
Locker
we'll get
these.
you some better graphics.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So today we're talking about do you know who this person is? Let me say. Let me try to get the name as good as I can get it. Omo Igbo the Agnostic. Have you ever seen any
I have no
yeah,
idea who that
Omo
is.
Igbo. Yeah. Okay. Um so yeah, I guess for those that don't know, let's rehash this. Have you come out to your parents?
Not my father. He's dead. But my mom knows I'm an atheist.
Your mom knows you're an atheist.
Yeah.
Uh, how did that go?
It went pretty well. I had gone to visit her in Alabama, and I mentioned it as I was leaving to come back to California. Oh, mom, by the way, I'm an atheist. Well, I thank God for it. And she went into a long list of things that I saw her do, giving God 100% of the credit, which is okay.
Like on the spot, like right there.
All right there. Yeah.
Now tell us if you don't mind, honestly. Like, do you
I don't mind.
just did you feel it was aggressive? Like was it kind of like a like aggressive reflex, like a defensive type of thing?
I felt I'd done it in the most cop out kind of manner that would be possible for me. Normally, I'm direct. I just come right out and say things
Sure,
diplomatically. Of course, I think most things can be put diplomatically. But and again, with her response, my response was diplomatic. Well, thank you for doing those things. You know, we have a
mm,
difference in beliefs. I wanted my aunt to join us for a hot program when I was in Alabama last week.
sure,
So she and I could discuss with you how it is to know you don't believe the same thing. Like we believe literally the opposite, right? About the Bible or God, not necessarily the Bible. But we get along extremely well because most of our relationship has zero to do with the Bible. But when it does come up, and it does, we can still talk about it without it being even adversarial, you
sure.
know. So,
Um,
how about you?
but with mom, you said, hang on, you just said straight out, I'm an atheist.
Yeah. By the way, I don't believe in God anymore, Mom. I'm an atheist. Something of that nature. It
Something to
was
that. Okay.
about that
Okay.
same tone of voice as well. See you
I'm tr-
later.
yeah, I'm trying to remember, like, to be honest, I think I had a situation because I think she's gonna actually talk about maybe being outed. And I think I had a similar situation where, oh goodness, I'm trying to think of when this would have been. But I think like at some point my uncle, it feels like when I was getting married to my Jesus wife, said something about me not believing in God, or the pastor I'd worked for saying it was okay to not believe in God. It was like something like that. And I remember like that was the whole thing. But what was weird was like I was still a Christian when that happened. And I remember, no, like I was explaining, like, no, he said it's okay to like challenge whether God is. So I remember that was kind of the first time it ever came up. But I wasn't I didn't identify as an atheist at that time.
Hmm.
And then I'm literally trying to remember. I had to ask my mom, actually. I had to say, Mom, do you remember when you found out when I was into believer? And actually, to be honest, I think um, there's a chance it could have been around a girlfriend. Because I know one of the things that was interesting was I dated women who weren't believers. Um, and so I wonder if it came up. Maybe that was the first time it ever came up. Maybe my mom asked me how I felt about one of the women I was dating being a non-believer, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't believe too. But it's weird because it wasn't always like that. Like I had a girlfriend who was non-believer even when I like played at a church and stuff like that, when I was still wavering, I guess you could say. So this is I didn't prepare for
No, it's
today. So
okay. It's
I'm
okay.
realizing I'm not ready. So that's, yeah, I mean, that's kind of interesting. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm sure we'll have plenty of thoughts. I have some other things I've been thinking about, but I'll see
Hmm.
if we get into it. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some early stuff. All
And the
right.
logo was over your face, just so you know.
Yeah, I had to move it. There we go. All right. We should be ready to go.
This video was very hard to write. The story of how I came out as atheist to my religious family. I actually wrote this last week, but I wasn't quite happy with the final results, and so I decided to rewrite it. I wanted it to be more honest about what I was currently going through because the actual coming out part happened in earnest about 4 weeks ago. And at the same time, I wanted to be respectful to my family. My first draft just didn't quite hit the right balance. Ultimately, given my never-ending pursuit of authenticity, I decided I wouldn't genuinely be me if I did not speak my truth as it actually happened. So I'll tell you how it went down. I would not recommend the same course of action that I'm about to tell you. I am just a human being. And I hope you already know not to listen to everything you hear on the internet. Okay, here it is.
All right. So I'm gonna pause it there. Just a bunch of things that came up for me already. So I've heard other people kind of talk about this. Those who have dealt with their family and parents in particular, and those who haven't. And I noticed that this is a common theme. Like I can't think of who I can point to that said it's gone really well.
Hmm.
And I don't think any of us have like a good way to do it, right? And it sort of reminds me in some sense of like almost like dating or something, where it's something that's very important to a person, but they could feel utterly unprepared for, like they have had no type of training or expertise or practice and none of that. You
Hmm.
know, and then you just have to like do this really heavy thing. But it's always important when thinking through situations like that you don't want to get like analysis paralysis, right? That you want to be able to go ahead and do what you got to do. So, you know, for those people that feel like, oh, I've just been so scared to do it, or I don't feel like I've got the right approach, like nobody does. So just go ahead, and if you screw it up, then like it's not really on you. It's just difficult. Also, it's funny that I think there's so much of that feeling of I wanted to respect my family. You know, we have a lot of reverence for our family. We have a lot of reverence for their beliefs, and it's very interesting to me because I do feel lately like I'm working more through some issues. Like I feel like I'm the victim of religious trauma. I feel like my family and I were in a cult. I feel like that cult had a very detrimental effect on me and our family. But there's still this built-in reverence for it. Like that's you know, it's like hard to shake or hard to get rid of, and it's just weird. It's like a weird thing. It's like, why do I have that reverence for this thing that I don't think is any good? Yeah.
Well, for myself, I still respect the Christian religion, though I can go on and on as we have here about the problems that I see with it. Even today already, you know, correcting someone who said the Bible has no errors. And I had to ask, like, did you even read it? Like, this is a sharp guy, but I think I give him too much credit. Maybe that's my problem. Because he was a guy that loved to read books. When we were like in elementary school, middle school, and high school, always with a book in his hand or he's out running cross country. Just, I respected him hugely. But now I don't know if I should, as far as his belief in the Bible. Well, no, that's not fair to say. It is a belief. It is a belief. He does not have knowledge like I would expect someone who read as many things as he did. Another thing, I guess I didn't think about this. Sorry, I'm just realizing this. If he is immersed, and I'm assuming he read mostly fiction, if he is immersed in fiction, then what better fiction than one that promises you heaven after you die?
Yeah.
What better fiction to say you don't have to be accountable to the people in your environment as much as you're accountable to this divine being who will forgive you for literally anything you do except for denying the Holy Spirit. So it doesn't matter how terrible you are.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that being will forgive you. So maybe that's the ultimate fictional belief. Maybe there isn't a better one to have.
No more. Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, that's kind of what I think of it. It is like the most self-serving kind of lie I can think of. There was kind of a point, God, I can't even remember. There was something we were watching that basically made that point about the fact that, you know, a lot of delusions are not very self-serving, but religion is one of those ones where there's actually a lot for the believer that they get out of it, which makes it a more effective grift. Yeah. All right. Let's let her get into her story.
How I came out as atheist to my religious family.
You hear this music all over YouTube. I love it. It's really good. Just
hello and welcome back to my
lo-fi.
channel. I am very excited to finally get to this video. I'm working on being more consistent with putting out content, but sometimes life just happens. If you are interested in sticking around anyways, don't forget to click the subscribe button before you head out. In the comments below, let me know what your experience was like coming out as a non-believer or an atheist to your religious friends and family, if you have. I would love to hear from you. Okay, thanks. To say
Yeah,
that
same, y'all. That's the question of the day: is do you have religious parents, and do they know you're a non-believer? So, any context or anything else I want to add to that, that'd be fantastic.
Hey, Pocket I have
came
a
out as
question. There's
Go ahead.
somebody typing, like I didn't type exclamation point QOTD in the
I
chat.
did.
Someone else did. You did that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So also, Katina did mention it's good that she wants to be genuine and honest. I think that's where a lot of people, y'all, that's got to be the number one thing off the top, and just go from there. Like, that's the thing where, like, I honestly think, like, if you don't overthink it and you just do it and and you focus on just being honest, like 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 you're in court, under oath, like seriously, like you just got to tell the truth. I think you can't go wrong in a sense, because it's like no matter what happens from that, at least that was your motivation, and I think anything that happens that, first off, I don't think it's going to be that bad. Like, I think a lot of us say it doesn't go well or whatever like that. A lot of times, honestly, it's just weird stuff. It's like, of course, they're not going to like change their beliefs, or they say some aggressive stuff, or you got to start dealing with some microaggressions. Like stuff can happen, but I'd say overall, like, most people end up just it being accepted in the relationship, and it's just like a new thing in the relationship that you deal with. And so anything that might happen that's negative, I think mostly it's going to be positive things, that, because for me at least, like, it's so worth it to just be able to live your truth and have it be known, and to me that's worth a lot. But anything that might happen that's negative, at least when you go to rebuild that bridge, it's like, hey, I wasn't trying to hurt you. Like, I was just trying to tell you, like, who I really am.
atheist is a misclassification. I was found out. The story was leaked to the press. So I started this channel about a year ago, and I did not tell anyone that I knew personally about it outside of maybe 2 or 3 people. At the time, I wanted to connect with other non-believers, but I didn't want to be out to religious people. Initially, was I interested in, having to explain to people, having to defend myself, or feeling attacked by my religious kinfolk?
Yes,
no,
and sort of.
not at all. At the beginning of my non-beliefhood, I really thought that I was just never going to tell my parents. My mom specifically. And my reasoning at the time was that I didn't want them or any other members of my family to have to live the rest of their lives thinking that I was going to burn in hellfire for eternity. I did not want to put that burden on them. So my plan really was to just never say shit about it.
All right, that's crazy. Like, I think that's where a lot of people are. That's really heavy, and I definitely think I probably was there for a long time too. I remember when my uncle died. My uncle got caught up in some issues, let's just say that, and then committed suicide. And I knew, kind of, given the fundamentalism of my grandparents, that they probably didn't think he had a good outcome. And I remember that being like a heavy, sort of traumatic thing growing up with as a young person. And so I definitely think that was part of my hesitancy in you know telling my family members about it or whatever. To be honest, I never told my grandparents. My mom knows, my dad knows. I think my mom told my grandparents. So I I didn't. I've never had that conversation. I don't know if I'm up for that one.
Well, they know now.
Yeah, they do know. They know now because my mom told them or whatever. So it just kind of is what it is. Did you ever plan to not tell anybody?
My brother Rick, was somebody I hoped I never had to tell. I think his Christianity is his way of, and my best friend's mom. I still haven't told her. She's like a mother to me. Both of them, their Christianity is beautiful. It's. I think people who would see them would say, okay, if I'm going to call myself a Christian, that's the minimum that should qualify. If you're not doing as much as they do for other people, you don't qualify. And so it was very hard for me because obviously that's their foundation. You know, it's emanating from them. You can't miss it. It's wonderful. My brother knows, my best friend's mom still doesn't. My brother frequently would ask me, how's your walk with the Lord? Something of that nature.
Yeah.
And so after like 3 or 4 years of being an atheist, I was like, I'm struggling with it. Which was kind of it was a super duper lie because like, nope, no struggle here. Because
right, yeah.
Look, I don't see how it's true. I'm sure some of the stuff in the Bible is true, but we can write off the talking donkey, the talking snake, the guy walking on water, the guy with the magic hair, the guy who had some sort of food truck in his pocket, like Sport Billy in a little bag or whatever. You know, we can forget all that. The magic healing and all that stuff, forget it. And I'm still a mythicist, so I'm not someone who will tell you there was a historical Jesus. I just don't think there was. If there was a historical Jesus, I believe he was on the level of Benny Hinn. You know, had a good sized audience and people that stuck with him, and was utterly pulling a wool over the eyes of the masses, and they loved it.
So another thing I think is interesting about this video overall and this conversation, and also going along with the idea of that phase that a lot of people might be in or stay in, that they feel that they're gonna. I got a good freeze frame. They're not gonna say anything ever to anybody. I just want people to think about and reflect on that. I think it means a lot to me that people borrow from the language of the LGBTQ community and talk about it as a coming out. And I think, you know, I could actually totally entertain a conversation about whether or not that's appropriate. Because, you know, I could imagine it bothering people. Nobody's ever said that to me, but that wouldn't be unreasonable. But I do think if you're going to use the language, you have to think about why. And to me, what I'm getting at is it means you're marginalized. If you feel this heavy about something about you, that you have to hide it, that you can't tell anybody, and we have a lot of justified reasons for feeling that way. But I think it's important to our collective cause, which doesn't have to be anything other than the commonality of being non-believers, to recognize that, because I just think that hopefully is motivating and energizing to those of us that can be out, that can do something, that can advocate, that can support, because part of our problem is we're not even on the list, y'all. When they talk about the list of problems and bigotries and who's marginalized and who's excluded and all these type of things, people don't even put atheist on that list, and it's insane to me. And also part of it is recognition that that's not necessarily right, or that that's not necessarily the ideal state of affairs, recognizing that it's not good for you to have to hide, and also to feel like you can advocate for yourself. A big part of it for me is, like I said, we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion a lot, but a lot of us, there's a J in there, and that J stands for justice. And to me, like, once you realize, okay, we're marginalized, we don't really feel like we belong or like we fit in, what we're really saying is we can't even be our authentic selves around friends and family. A lot of times we have to just go along with religious stuff just like we're believers, because literally there's no space for us to not believe and still be accepted into our friends and family. At least that's the feeling. So the justice part is recognizing that that's not right. Right. And that sometimes that goes beyond us. So something I've been thinking about lately is like, you don't have to not have relationships with people in your friends and family over differences of religion. Because to me, that's letting the religion take even more from you. At the same time, though, like, you shouldn't have to feel like you can't be your authentic self because of the religion, because you're not doing anything wrong. So I understand people who don't want to deal with it, and I don't think they should feel like they owe anybody anything. Like, if you're just in a situation where you can't be out, then don't be, and don't worry about it. But also remember that whether you can or can't, the thing that we're dealing with is not our fault. In other words, like, I gotta recognize that my family's in a cult, as much as I hate to say that. And so there's a certain degree of like sympathy I have to show.
Yeah.
And remember that, like, this is not the path they chose. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough.
I think it is the path they chose, though, right? Christianity is, for most, I would say, very passive. But in the case of your mother and your grandparents, it is not.
I mean,
It's
in
not
the sense,
passive.
in the sense of what led them there. Like, they were indoctrinated as children, right? And they wouldn't have, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, no, they do, and that's the other part of it, right? That's the but, right? To me, is they are grown, they are adults. This is their choice, and I just get the feeling like we feel stuck a lot of times. We respect those people, and because of that, we feel like it's a struggle to come out to them. It's a struggle to talk to them. It's a struggle to engage with them. But then I feel like a lot of times that makes us ineffective outside of those relationships, because it's like, you feel like you can't say anything, or you can't advocate for atheism. You can't do any of that. And I just think we have to give ourselves permission to be inconsistent in that way. To understand, hey, I'm in a situation when it comes to my friends and family, I can't really be out like that. But that doesn't have to silence you on social media or on YouTube or at work or wherever you kind of are safe. So yeah, that's just what I'm getting at. It's I've been thinking through things a little bit with a little bit more nuance and complication lately, mostly because I don't want, families getting older, and you're like,
Yeah.
do I really want to, not have a relationship with certain people because we have different beliefs? At the end of the day, like, if they don't want to look into it or whatever, like, that's their business,
Mm-hmm.
And
Hang on. Katina said, I was just gonna read this real quick. It's only in the last year or so that I've finally started to identify myself as fully an atheist out loud. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Katina.
Well,
Awesome. Good on you.
Katina, how's that going? I have a wonderful time telling people I'm an atheist for multiple reasons. One is that, and I've stated this on Hot Program before, I find that I run into more atheists than I ever could have imagined were out there. It's like they were waiting to be able to tell someone that they didn't believe, but they would feel ostracized. And now it was okay. You're talking to somebody who has shirts for Antelope Valley Free Thinkers and Atheist Experience, and I'll wear that stuff when I travel sometimes, just to raise a few eyeballs and raise awareness, as they say, because people aren't alone. They might feel that way, but there is the occasional conversation that pops up, with a religious person, with a Christian, where they want to say, "Well, why are you an atheist?" And sometimes those conversations are sincere, where they're wondering, "Well, how could you not believe what I believe?" And the difference is often I've read their holy book and they haven't. So, Katina, if you don't mind commenting, depends on the company is the response.
Yeah, depends on the company. That's a
well said.
Yeah, well said. Hey, Purple. So another thing that I find interesting to me is this disconnect from the aesthetic. So something that's happening to me is I noticed when you said it's like a certain person's Christianity is beautiful. Like I'm having this weird thing where I'm having this disconnect to how I used to feel about it. Like there was so long that I felt that way. There was so long, honestly, I didn't want atheism to take Christianity from me. Yeah, this sounds fucked up, but
no,
I'm just being honest. There was time I wanted to be in the church. I wanted to, you know what I'm saying? I wanted to do the whole thing. I just didn't believe. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it can look. I was one of those people who sat in the pews for years, chairs for years after I didn't believe, because I loved being around the people in that church that I was going to. They were just so wonderful, and I had so many friends, and that's where we connected.
Right.
And that's that to a God, if one exists, right? That to me was inaccessible. The people were accessible. And I can tell you, going back all the way to any church I've ever been to, I loved the people more than God in every single case.
Sure.
There's no contest. If there is a judgment day with a Christian God and he has to look me in the face, I know you liked a lot of the people you were around more than you like me. And I could say, still do. Still do.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with having a wonderful time in the company of really great people. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah. So for me now, it's different. It's like that stuff. It makes my skin crawl. Like it bothers me. Like it's it makes me really sad. Now, there's still certain things as a worship musician my whole life. There's certain music I still enjoy. Definitely I can get struck with architecture or the stained glass or just the choir or the community aspect. You see them doing something, they definitely can hit my emotional cues. I'm not saying that, but overall I relate it to smoking cigarettes. like I still smoke weed, but I used to smoke cigarettes. Not for a long time, but like when I was like young, I was like a teenager or something. And when I quit, it went from being like the thing you just love, like it was hard because you just loved the idea of smoke or whatever. But now it's like repulsive. I can't be in a room with somebody smoking a cigarette. Like I just can't. Like it's just like it's gonna be like I literally feel like I'm gonna hurl everything. Like it's a nauseating feeling, and that's kind of what I feel like when I think about or when I see it in the people. Like it makes me sad, but it's a change. It's a process. It's something different. Like you recognize that you're having a very different gut level response than you used to. So
I
it
think
might
that's a
happen to some
strong
people.
analogy.
Yeah.
Cigarette smoking, hey, it's bad. You can do it to you, but don't do it to me. I think this when people are trying to legislate their religion, I think the same caution needs to be observed. No, you can do that to you, but don't do it to me. Don't do it to
Yeah.
me. Don't make me have to live under Sharia law.
But that's kind of the
Don't
thing
make
too. Like,
me, huh?
but that's kind of the thing too. Like those, like I just think it's bad for everybody, right? Like I don't even like.
It's even bad. Well, look, in terms of smoking, it's bad for the person doing it, but the secondhand smoke is bad too.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect and yeah, it's actually
So your analogy is extremely good.
No, it's a really good analogy in that way. Yeah,
secondhand religion.
Yeah, secondhand religion. All right, let's let her go.
And I made this channel. Okay, so stepping back for just a moment, my parents had no real reason to believe that I was no longer a Christian. Well, I shouldn't say no reason. I mean, how perceptive are parents supposed to be? Some more than others, right? I wasn't ever a fan of my mom's church or church in general even. And she knew that. I would always fight having to go up and get anointing at the altar. I would often sneak out of service to go play with babies in the nursery. I didn't like being forced to pray at church, and sometimes I would refuse altogether. By the time I was in middle school, I was fully aware of the fact that church was an extracurricular activity that we could choose to stop doing and everything would be fine. And we could still be Christians. Plenty of Christians don't go to church. But I was still a Christian through high school despite my disliking of church, so I don't really know how much of a red flag that should have been. However, once I did deconvert at age 19, I was over here openly questioning the Bible, asking why God didn't fix this or that, you know, talking about other religions a lot and harshly criticizing a variety of pastors. I was openly pro-choice, you know, pro-marijuana, pro-LGBTQ rights, anti-prayer in school, you know, all of that. And after I moved out of my parents' house, they definitely knew that I wasn't going to church anymore. Had somebody outside of our family or our immediate circle heard me talking about all those things combined, they probably would have asked me at some point if I was an atheist. But it never occurred to the people closest to me that, maybe this bitch is not a Christian anymore. But they didn't pick up on it at all. All
right, this is... Well, that's funny. I can relate to a lot of this.
Can I just jump in?
Yeah, of course. You go first.
I feel I should say she points out something. I think I'm going to highlight part of it. Right? Christianity is about self-control. It's not about you controlling me. It's about me controlling me. If that's what I want, if that's what I want to believe, it's self-control. So it's not about other people determining for you how your path should be. It's you looking at that book yourself and coming up with an idea of what your path should be. And then people like you and I, Pocket Locker, and our audience member telling them, well, there's more to read than what you read. It actually says this and this. But eventually, I think for a lot of people, it's unappetizing when they can look at it in the aggregate. It's nice. I guess Christianity's the Bible's a bit like the food table at a well-financed party. Look at all this. Don't eat too much of anything. Try everything. And then there are things you will put in your mouth that you hate. They look good on the table. But that's disgusting. There's too much kale in that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other things for me is like I could relate to. I think church is good for kids, and one of the things I recognize is I think the restlessness was noticed early on, and one of the things I think that deludes my family is the involvement, because the involvement is what keeps you from not wanting to be there, and it also keeps you from sitting there thinking too deeply about things. So for me, like, like I wanted to always play drums in church, but even in my church, I couldn't. So I was doing sound. So I had a lot going on during service, and I had a couple other like older kind of teenage boys that I really thought were super cool. I really admired them. I thought they were like super, super cool dudes, right? And so, I wanted to kick it with them, and I got to hang out with them, and then I was the one actually doing most of the stuff so they could goof off, and then so I'm busy, right, and I get a lot of positive feedback and encouragement for handling things, and it keeps you wanting to be there. And it keeps you around a lot because you're there for choir rehearsal, you're there for prayer service, you're there for all those things. And for you, it's just an opportunity to do the hobby that you like. And then even like in school, like, like we told them, like, we was like, yo, we need to play. Like, we're not doing a school mass thing if I'm not playing. And they, because it was important to have opportunities to play, right? And we had to create them, and our school didn't give us enough of them. And so we had to say things like, yo, we have school mass every month. Why are we not playing? And so I started playing. And so then even like school mass is something you look forward to because we only have 2 band concerts a year, and we have like a coffee house and something. So this is one of our more regular performances and opportunities to play in front of our peers, right? So you look forward to school mass. You're not thinking like this is the thing everybody else in school dreads because they have to sit there and actually do like the religious ritual in school. Like everybody hates school mass. Well, school mass, we're like, yo, it's time to shine. So it is very different. And then even, older years, because I was the same way. Like I was the same way mentally, like, pro-science, liberal, pro-choice, pro-LGBT, all the same things you're talking about, known as, my family used to call me the Rican Deacon. That was my nickname, was
the Rican?
The Rican Deacon, yeah, because I was, I was Christian, I was religious, but I smoked a lot of weed, so that's the name.
Like and subscribe to the Rican Deacon channel on YouTube.
I was just thinking that. I need to change the name of the channel. So yeah, fun times, y'all. Fun stories. All right, let's go.
Parents had no idea, but they maybe should have kind of had an inkling. Okay, so boom, I started making videos on this channel. Sometime in December of last year, this other YouTuber named Dallas Wade made a video and gave me a shout out. By the way, you should definitely go check out his channel. I was super geeked that this really cool internet person had given me a shout out. So I was feeling myself a little bit. So I recorded a few seconds of his shout out on my phone and sent it to my family's group text. My immediate family and I have a group chat on WhatsApp, and we send things back and forth all the time about what we're up to. And I was careful about the clip that I sent. I did not include any part that would give my channel theme or name away because I didn't want them to find it. And sending a clip like that wasn't that strange because my family knows that I do a lot of random video stuff. They know I love my camera, and they know that I love to edit together nonsense all the time. I've sent video clips in the past, so this wasn't that strange. So they know that I do this. They just didn't know what the specific content was about this time. So somehow my cousin who lives with my parents knew about this channel. She also was starting a YouTube channel, so maybe it came up in conversation one day, but honestly, I cannot remember how she came to know about this channel, but all I know is that it wasn't a big deal that she knew. But I don't think I did a good job explaining to her that this was a, secrets for your eyes only type of channel. Because my mom ended up asking her questions about my clip, and then she asked to see my channel, I think. I don't know. All I know is that my cousin brought my mom to this channel, and that's how it all started. That's how my mom got on my trail. So here's a message that she sent to me after she first saw my channel.
Hang on, before we do the message, Has your religious family found your channel, and what do you think the reaction would be?
My brother Henry has listened to a couple of episodes of Hot Pro. Well, more than a couple. He'll tune in every now and then. My wife will tune in once in a blue moon. It's not very often. And I don't think my sister will come near this. They've all found their comfort level. My little brother, he's too busy making money. There's no way he would even listen to this while at work. My brother Rick, I don't think Rick knows I do this. I don't think he knows. And so basically, nah, they're not into it. They're not into it at all.
Okay, so the other question though is like, what do you think the effect would be if they did listen?
We're all headstrong people, so I think nobody's going to change their mind based on anything ever said on Hot Program.
Wow.
And we can show them chapter and verse, right? We do that.
Sure.
There's no way they change their mind. No way.
Sure.
Again, I think they've all found, I know they have, they've all found their comfort level with their faith. And they want stasis. They want to stay right where they are. They don't want me coming in there. Well, I can refute that.
Sure.
My brother Henry was having some disagreements with a pastor at a church he was going to, and he actually, to my surprise, he came to me. He goes, "Well, what does the Bible say about this?" I was stunned, but I'm like, "Well, I've read it a few times, so let's go." And I gave him some information that helped him sort of work through what he thought. And I said, "You can let your pastor know. I'll debate him if he wants." He goes, "He knows less than you. There's no way he'll debate. There's no way." So he ended up going somewhere else for church. But he wanted an answer. He got an answer, but he stayed faithful. It didn't bother him.
Right.
That his spiritual teacher, didn't have this information.
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways they've accepted that. It's very weird. I don't think my family, they don't know. Like they've never shown any interest. Like I recorded a podcast when I was at my dad's house on Skeptic Haven. Like, I have a hard, he didn't even like want to talk to me about it or like ask any questions or anything. Like, I think my mom's the same way. I think if my mom found my channel, I sent her an Uncle Bobby video one time. I don't know what he did. He did something so exciting. I sent it to my mama. And she was just like too much cursing or whatever. Like, I don't know. So I feel like she probably say that about my channel. I definitely think they would find things to be like nitpicky about the aesthetic and then like not actually engage with the content or the substance of anything I say. If they actually engage with the substance of anything I'd say, there'd be a whole lot of you're right, but until they just realize that like I'm right about this. I mean, I think this is about a lot of things. That there's a reason people don't sincerely and genuinely engage with these things, and a lot of times it's at some level they know, or at least strongly suspect that there's a good reason. You have a certain degree of credibility with your family, like it or not. And they tend to know how straight up or how much integrity you have or whatever, right? And so if you're sincerely a non-believer, they don't want to go picking up the trail, the breadcrumbs of how you got there, because they already know at some level they might end up in the same place. Yeah.
My family's a weird family in that every child is an expert at multiple things. So if you want accounting advice, you can come to me. If you want to know something about budgeting for your car or your house and all that kind of thing, you come to me. If you want to know about investing in the stock market, you go to my brother Henry. If you want to start a business from scratch, you go to my brother Rick. If you want to know about car stereo stuff, certain electric stuff, you'll go to my brother William. If you want to know about math things, you'll go to my brother, another one of my brothers who's just like a freaking wizard. And if you want to know about insurance, you'll go to my sister. Tell you insurance, blah, blah, blah. She just knows everything. So there are things that we within our family will ask each other about. There's almost no overlap. We're all specialists. Car stereo stuff, my brother William and my brother Rick and Richard aren't the same person. You can ask them. The rest of us, don't ask us that. Don't ask us that. So I think when it comes to religion, they don't ask each other. They come to me. And they ask questions that won't lead them to disbelief, I think. And when I talk to them, since I know they don't want to disbelieve, I just give them the answer they're looking for, often without commentary on why I think it's baloney. If it's baloney. If what the Bible's saying.
Uncle and
Unclean unicorn.
Unclean unicorn. I can read English. My mom deduced my atheism on her own. They rarely broach the subject except to hint that the universe is too complicated to happen on its own. Yeah, it's actually a weird tension, I think, because I think they can't help in some ways broach the topic. Like, they can't help but sort of have their prayerful moments or want to bless the table or want to praise the Lord or something like that in front of you. I actually think there's a ton of like passive aggressive fucking warfare that goes on with these things. I got a totally cynical view of these things. I think our families are trying to chump us. Like, to be honest, they try to punk us back into the fold. It's not gonna happen. But yeah, it's interesting that I think part of that is they'll sort of try to test some of the arguments that they hear in church or on the internet or on social media or whatever, and so to kind of throw out the like, what do you think? One thing I'm thinking is kind of interesting is establish if it's an interesting approach to try to establish how much of a serious question that is for them. So, instead of just jumping to the answer, right? Because he asks the question, like you give him an answer to the universe being too complicated. Instead, first just ask, well, how, to establish, is this a thing that would actually cause you to doubt? Because mostly they'll work through that it won't first, and then you can not waste your time. What do you think?
for unclean unicorn. And those dealing with the family that says the universe is far too complicated to happen on its own. I want to let you know you don't have to know everything. You do have to know this. Judges chapter 1, verse 19. The Lord was with Judah. They could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley. Oh, no. This is translated wrong. It's the Lord could not drive out the people because they had iron chariots. Sorry, somebody fix this to make it comfortable. So could a God that created the entire universe in 6 days, not to help Israel defeat an army that had iron chariots? Yeah. Talking about the same guy. It's his kryptonite, maybe.
It wouldn't be unwelcome if he showed up right now to let us know what he was thinking, because sure could settle a lot of really important stuff.
It would.
When I was growing up, the Catholic Church had no problem with evolution. Their take was God started everything, and that was a process he used to make new animals. So yeah, I So I was weird growing up. Like I said, I went to a all right. So I went to probably some of y'all don't know. So I went to a non-denominational church growing up. My dad went to a Methodist church, but like a black Methodist church called AME. It's African Methodist Episcopal is what that stands for. My grandparents are Pentecostal ministers, and I went to Catholic school. So I studied a lot of theology, and most of the theology I studied was Catholic. So as a consequence of that, I believe that God worked through natural means. And yeah, we had theology in the lecture hall next to the lab where we had biology, and they literally told us like Genesis is our like the Christian creation myth, and they would talk about how it comes from previous myths, like the stuff you guys hear on the internet when they're debunking the Genesis narrative. They taught us that in theology class, and they taught us that evolution was the means by which God did things. Yeah.
Now, can I address that really quick?
Yeah, sure.
If you go to Genesis 1, sounds legit. If you go to Genesis 1:24, and I'll read from the NIV, and God said, let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, and the wild animals, each according to its kind, and it was so. So if you can say, because this goes on in 25, God made the wild animals according to their kind, the livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds, and God saw that it was good. In a way, this says he did use evolution. In a way, it says he didn't. So it says, let the land bring these things forth. It does the same thing for the sea. But the following verse says God did it. So he's saying he used the land, which I guess we could say the ground. Does it also mean trees? Right? The trees help, the plants help, the flowers.
You could like cherry pick the Bible. I wouldn't
cherry pick it.
I wouldn't do it. I mean, because it's got a lot of, Genesis has a lot of things that are blatantly false and out of order. But yeah,
Judges 1:19, it's all you need.
So what I was going to say though is I actually think though, I think this is like bad. Like I think this is like a really dangerous thing. Like basically, I think we're lucky that the Bible doesn't match up with reality. We're really lucky, because if it did, that type of thinking would be, no, seriously, if it did, that type of thinking would be even more feasible or reasonable, but it wouldn't make it a better epistemology. In other words, if everything the Bible said about nature was true, it wouldn't mean God did it is a good explanation of nature. It just would be more consistent with the facts. So actually that sort of Catholic interpretation, like, I think messed me up. I think it messes up a lot of people. Like, I don't think it's a good thing. And I think there's a lot of efforts to synchronize religion with science. And again, I don't think they're a good idea, because they're really religious efforts. They're efforts at religion to colonize science, to basically say, we get to be true no matter what. Oh, did you just figure out some new thing in naturalism? Oh yeah, turns out the Bible said that all along. And it's really dangerous, because it actually makes it like, easier to manipulate people. So it's definitely something people should keep in mind about like Catholics and liberal Christians is they definitely interpret things differently.
Got on my trail. So here's a message that she sent to me after she first saw my channel. I have listened to every single video you made out there. It is your life, I agree. But you know what the problem is? You have no right whatsoever to put my picture and that of my husband or anything about me or my family in your fame-seeking adventure. I am giving you 24 hours to delete my picture and videos from your channel. You won't in your life believe the extent I will go to if you don't. You must distance me and our family from your channel. Why is it that you talked about me so much in all of this? The link has been sent to all family members to let them intensify their prayers for you. May God have mercy on your soul. And she did send my channel to all her family members in Nigeria. And there were a couple of her brothers from Nigeria who posted comments. One of them posted a comment on my
Wait, did her
discussion
mom
page.
do this or her cousin? Her mom did this to her?
So her mom wrote that.
Her mother wrote that to her. Oh my God.
So if she's Nigerian, and I don't know if her mom is, but her mom has family in Nigeria.
Shit.
I'm hearing this with the accent of my Nigerian neighbors. Just up the street a little bit.
Nah, see, mommy, you're not weird. You were like a very normal kid. I don't know too. Like I can remember a time in my life where I definitely thought it all was silly. And I remember like joking about it a lot and not really taking it too seriously. I think my faith, when I look back on it, it kind of was like in like waves through different
I
periods
think
of my
that's
life.
yeah, perfectly natural thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because I can remember times in like elementary school where like me and my friends we'd have to go to like school masses at a different Catholic school, and we would sing songs like during mass, but we would sing them. We would like substitute Jesus for the names of the girls we had crushes on.
I think that's a wonderful idea.
Praising is something we had a little bit more motivation to praise. But yeah, I remember stupid shit like that. And I think of that as just like Catholic school fucking hijinks.
Well, I want to comment on Sumami's what she shared. I like that, and now that I'm an expectant dad, I would be stunned if my daughter came out as said, "Oh, I'm a Christian," or "I want to get baptized formally." Like my wife wants our daughter to be baptized. I told her before we even married, go right ahead. I'm 100% on board. I'll record it for you if you want. Because it's her Cuban culture that's just what they do. Our daughter's beliefs are up to our daughter. But I would be stunned after having me for a father where she's hearing, show me, prove it. I got to see this for myself. Where's your evidence? When she's hearing me say that, she's going to be able to say that to other people. And so when they're telling her that in Sunday school that Jesus fed 5,000 with 5 loaves and 12 fishes or whatever it was, or 12 and 5, she's going to say, show me.
Right.
Show me. Is it just a story that says that? She's going to be 4 years old and being able to say, that sounds like a story to me, because no one does that.
Mm.
Now, by the time she's 10, she'll be able to say, isn't it more likely that people brought food and maybe the disciples didn't know that when they told Jesus the people didn't have food? So when they started to pass food around, other people took from what they had and shared it, because that's part of Jesus's message, be willing to share what you have or give it up entirely.
You know what else is going to happen? Your kid's going to do?
She's gonna get kicked out, so
Get beat
I better
up.
buy her a truck. I better buy her a truck to work on too.
Get jumped on the playground. No, let me roll some tape.
Yeah,
funny.
Victoria, this is your truck. You and I are gonna work on this instead of going to Sunday school.
Nice.
I am giving you 24 hours to delete my picture and videos from your channel. You
This
won't
is
in your life
so
believe the extent I will go
crazy.
to if you don't. You must distance me and our family from your channel. Why is it that you talked about me so much in all of this? The link has been sent to all family members to let them intensify their prayers for you. May God have mercy on your soul.
I could imagine
Intensify their prayers.
in an alternate universe. I could imagine my mother doing this to me. It's not. This is not beyond the realm of something. Yo, because I'm telling you, like, yo, especially black folk, like they're crazy about their religion, and sometimes when you like it brings out a different side. Like I'm telling y'all, like it could go down kind of okay, but this could get chunky like a monkey, because it bring out that other side, that nice nasty.
And she did send my channel to all her family members in Nigeria. And there were a couple of her brothers from Nigeria who posted comments. One of them posted a comment on my discussion page, and the other one posted a comment on one of my first couple of videos, I think. So she was kind of mad. But when I saw her in person, I just played off the whole thing like it wasn't really that big of a deal. Video? What?
What are you talking
mean?
about?
What picture? Me?
Oh, that's cold.
It's not even that serious. What are you talking about? You are definitely overreacting. It's not that serious. Don't forget to subscribe. Silent friend. Classic. But I don't live with her, so I didn't have to deal with it every day or even really think about it that much. When I was over at my family's house, literally no one else cared, including my dad. And so I just carried on with them as usual. I honestly don't even know if at that time anyone else in my family had even bothered to investigate the channel any further. That's just how we are, mostly. So my mom was angry for a while, but eventually she just lost that energy and things went back to normal. And we just didn't talk about it. I was still not interested in getting into the weeds of it or hashing anything out with her. I was perfectly happy with just not talking about it. Let me continue making my videos in peace. Okay, so fast forward about 5 months and I had started seeing someone. And things were getting more serious, and the next thing you know, boom, it's time to meet the parents. And so I told my parents that I wanted them to meet him. The first thing my mom asked was, is he a Christian? She was asking, I'm assuming, because she had seen my dating video.
Purple said, even if they found out about my channel, they wouldn't tell anyone because it might embarrass the family if more people found out about it. Ooh, I think that's real. I think that's real. I could see that being a thing with my family. I could definitely see that being a thing with my family. Wayne said...
Oh, can I comment on Wayne? Okay, yeah, good. Thank you for bringing that back. Wayne, I don't know if you've seen Satan's Guide to the Bible, this animated cartoon that's on YouTube. Well, I guess that's correct. It's on YouTube. I think you might find it fascinating and fun. It's hilarious. It's a hilarious takedown of Christianity. But I used to have the felt board and present lessons to kids in Sunday school. And like yourself, you did the Samson story. I had to do the Noah's Ark story. I'm like, this is not for children. It's not for children.
Not for children.
It's genocide.
I mean, nothing about genocide. Nothing about the flood, the Tower of Babel. None of those stories is really for children. I mean, it's
no.
It's you know, we could have maybe we'll do an episode about that sometime. Actually, it's kind of interesting topic. The not children's stories of the Bible.
That I had said I would never date a religious man. I was like, no, he's not. He's the same as me. I'm agnostic. He's agnostic. We're agnostic.
Agnostic. Okay.
And then she was mad again.
And I'm telling y'all too, that's a lot of that is because black people don't do atheists. Like that's the matter of fact, that's one of the videos we might cover. But I'm telling you, that's what a lot of that is. And it's like it's like whatever, like again, y'all, there's nuance to this, but we gotta reclaim our word. We gotta use it with power, but at the same time, look, it's functional. Use some off-ramp words, y'all. If that's more comfortable, just to say, hey, I'm agnostic, I don't know. Because we are, you know, there's difference and there's nuance. And technically, I'm both, right? Technically, I'm agnostic and I'm atheist. I'm very weakly agnostic, we'll put it that way. But you know, I also like the term non-believer. I like the term skeptic. To be honest, in the right context, to talk to the right person, you know, I wouldn't even mind saying I'm culturally Christian. Ooh, I know that just triggered a bunch of people. But no, I'm just being honest. There was a way I really felt that for a long time. Maybe not so much now, because now I don't want to see myself as culturally Christian. I think that's kind of a weird deal. But I definitely remember a long time when I was an atheist where I felt that was true about me. Like I was culturally Christian, but I struggled with doubt. That was mostly the way, like if there was a Christian I was talking to I really thought couldn't handle it, I'd be like, well, you know, I celebrate these traditions and these holidays, but yeah, I just struggle with doubt. You know, we've all got our sin struggles, and you know that's mine. So, but yeah, now it's just I'm normally just like, no, I'm an atheist. I don't believe any of that stuff. I tell people I don't believe in anything. I don't believe in nothing. Nothing. Literally, I just tell people I don't believe in anything supernatural. You know.
But that's okay. I guess maybe that makes me want to answer that question differently. Where I say, you know, I don't invest any belief in in the supernatural, but can you prove any of it to me?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
can right now, I don't want a story. Demonstrate it. One of the best takedowns I ever heard. What's his name? Richard Smalley, I think. Maybe it's David Smalley. Who's an atheist, and he had a show. It was, I don't know, big time, like 10 years ago, might still be. He used to be a Christian, and a friend of his, they were talking about ghosts, and a friend of his says, which is more likely? Human beings manage to somehow survive life on earth, like the soul survives, and you're able to have a life beyond this one. And instead of going to a laboratory and notifying scientists, they walk around old drafty houses, making the windows rattle, doors squeak. Which is more likely? Well, it's a silly idea.
Yeah.
Right? It's a silly idea.
It's a silly idea.
If you are in the great hereafter some kind of way, it would be irresponsible of you not to come back and in some way, right? And tell people, hey, wait, there's more. And then demonstrate it, where it's not just a story. Even the Bible has, what is it? Saul going to the king of the witch of Endor, right? Somebody goes to the witch of Endor to get a prophecy. Jesus tells a story about Lazarus being in whatever, Hades or whatever, and the rich man wanting him to get a drink, right? Hey, have Lazarus dip his finger in the water that I could drink that. Or, you know,
right. There's a lot of them, but we know they're never.
The bosom of Abraham. That's the proper term.
They'll never take us up on those challenges. Katina said, nope, that one's weird. Them. Yeah, I am. It's weird now, Katina, because there's a lot of cultural. The people that say that a lot of times are like right-wing bigots. But yeah, I remember like I definitely used it. I'd be lying if I said I did. I definitely did. It was in that period when, to be honest, I still, you know, like my life, like I still played in the worship band and was on church on 2 times a week and going to rehearsal and all this stuff. And it was just like, it was easier for a time, especially because I thought, you know, I was so afraid of what like certain people in my life would think of me. But now, like, since I see how people use it now, that's why I don't use it anymore. Because the people that say they're culturally Christian now are usually super problematic. And also, I think like this might also sound a bit much for some people, but I do actually think we are in the middle of a culture war, and I think it's important to be clear about where you stand with a lot of things. And I think part of the problem is too many people want to hang on to some loose Christian affiliation in a way that makes their life more comfortable, but actually like aligns them with power in ways that are super problematic. We don't have to get into a whole thing about it, but I think it's one of those weird things. It's problematic, but it can also be a helpful off-ramp to people. But yeah, I want to roll tape though, just so we can get to some of this. All right.
Be in her feelings for a little bit.
This is a good video.
Over the next month or so, she did make various attempts to try to engage me in further conversation about it. She was approaching it like we were a couple of gal pals. Let's just talk. I just want to know where you're coming from. Yeah. I was not having it. And some of you may think that I was being unreasonable, and that's okay, because I probably was. Why aren't you letting her understand you? Just talk to her. No. This is my mom. I know a setup when I see one. So I dodged and dodged that conversation until I couldn't dodge it anymore. So I came over to the house one day and she's like, sit down. We're doing this now. Well, okay. So both she and my dad were there, and she starts by asking me if I know the origins of agnosticism. She explains to me how it's satanic and demonic, and how the man who started it was into the occult. And I just stop all this nonsense because, you know, it's demonic.
I forgot the
I had to
popcorn,
start by
y'all.
just explaining what agnosticism meant. Actually, no, I'm not into occultism. In fact, I don't believe that stuff either. Surprise! And I did have to put my foot down a little bit on that point because she kept insisting that agnosticism was something related to demonic, satanic, dark force type of movement. No, that is not true. I am not in a cult. I am not following a leader. It is just a label for my genre of belief. I have to explain that I do not believe that human beings are capable of understanding anything even remotely close to a God figure. There is no way that I believe that human beings have figured out the afterlife or any non-physical reality. Everyone out here is just guessing at this stuff, and I just choose not to pretend that I have answers that I don't. That's it. My dad's two arguments were, number one, even if you think that you don't know, wouldn't it be better to just believe it anyways? That way you have some kind of a safety net from hell. Classic Pascal's wager. And number two, well, shouldn't you just do it because it's a part of our culture and people shouldn't do things that are not a part of their culture, like be agnostic or whatever. Stick to what you were born into. People all over the world do it every day. Why can't you just conform so you don't stick out? My main response was that belief is not like a light switch that you just turn on and off at will. I don't believe it and I can't make myself believe it. So even if I do go to church like 3 times a week, if I don't believe it in my heart, what good does going through the motions do? It's a waste of my time.
All right, so I'm gonna just take a quick pause here. This is a really great. So there's a few things that are interesting to me, and if I take a step back and I look at the process she's been on with her family, we should be able to see this, to me, as an abusive relationship, right? It's crazy, right? Think about this thing where you're in this relationship, someone in your family has outed you. They've literally told your family this thing about you that you haven't decided yet to disclose or to discuss with your family. They then like start sending your stuff to people in your family. There's like this intense effort to intensify prayer for you, which is really intensify shaming you. You got people coming out of the woodwork wanting to talk to you about stuff. Then you're in the relationship and you're avoiding it, right? You're doing that, like, I think they call it like gray rocking or something, where you ignore the substantive issue or source of conflict in a relationship, and instead you just keep the relationship to like shallow, superficial things. Oh, good to see you. Let's have tea. Let's eat dinner. Da, 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 da. Talk about ignore the elephant in the room type of situation. And then finally it comes out, and there's like all this coercive stuff, right? There's like the Pascal's wager thing, which nobody tells Christians is actually a threat. And then, like well, what about your culture, which is really like, don't you know only white people do that? Like, don't you know you got to be Christian for your people? Like, are you really gonna betray your people this way? I mean, think about it like that. Nothing about this is okay, right? But this is just so common of what it's like to be an atheist, and this is what I mean about like taking seriously that notion of staying in the closet. You see, not only the why she was in the closet, but like how vulnerable she was when she was outed, and how inappropriate the response is. And so often, like, we're trying to figure out how to make this easier on them instead of like acknowledging the elephant in the room again, which is that they respond to these things terribly, and that this religion this is how it destroys families.
Yeah, the great thing is she understood some of the ramifications that were headed her way if she was public about this with her family.
Right.
She knew them well enough to know there was going to be a substantial freak out as a result of her being herself.
Absolutely.
Gray rocking.
Cannot unlearn what I've learned, and there is no going back for me. Sorry. That line did take the wind out of their sails a little bit, and they did seem very defeated. Then they started negotiating. Well, fine, if you're gonna keep on not knowing or whatever, can you at least not know in silence? Do you have to talk about it? Just shut up about it. Don't tell nobody. I said that I did not want to live a lie. I refuse to live a lie. And as Christians, they should be glad that I choose not to be a liar. If asked, I will tell people what I believe. I am not ever going to lie to someone's face and tell them that I am a Christian or pretend to be one when I'm not. I knew that they did not leave the conversation feeling any better than when they had gone into it. The way I was talking, they definitely felt worse. But at the end of this conversation, I thought it was very clear to them that I was a non-believer. I was wrong. And things were quiet for a while after that. A few months went by and then I shared my video about African Americans adopting white Jesus.
Ooh.
At this point, I had retitled all my videos to include the term Black Atheist.
Kind of want to grab that.
And that is what set her off. The word atheist.
Oh,
she
yeah.
She started by sending this message. Please do not post
How
on
does
this
she
platform
even
again.
know?
Keep your opinions to yourself, please.
What? How does she even know
family.
what?
Jesus died for all
How does
mankind.
her mom know that she retitled those videos and put Black Atheist? Her mom must have kept watching or something. Or
Yeah,
had
no, she said she
somebody
sent her something.
notify
She
her.
said she sent her. She sent her a video.
Oh, she said she sent it. Okay, I
Yeah,
didn't
she
catch
sent
that.
her a video about black people adopting white Jesus. And she had renamed all her videos Black Atheist, and that's
Well,
what
she
set her off.
should have sent
All right,
it
so let's
years
hear this
ago.
letter. We can respond to let's hear this what she got from her mom. Woo.
Keep your opinions to yourself, please.
Hang on,
And
hang on.
I had retitled all my
Here we
her
go.
off. The word atheist. She started by sending this message. Please do not post on this platform again. Keep your opinions to yourself, please. We are a
Wow.
Christian family. Jesus died for all mankind. Stop exposing your ignorance. Jesus is
Wow.
of Jewish descent. He is not white. Even at that, he came in human form from a tribe chosen from God. Repeat, don't post this again here. You have gone from agnosticism to atheist. What will you become next? You seem to be confused. So now you have become an atheist and you know how passionate I am about my faith. What is giving you this boldness and courage? May God have mercy on you. And then she removed herself.
Again, I just want to say that that's abusive. Like, that's just terrible. We just tolerate a lot of this stuff. But, like, you know, this is the thing where, and we've been talking about this in our community a lot, where we just, I hate to say this, we just expect Christians to behave badly. We just do. And as a result of wanting to keep them in our lives and have interactions with them, we accept their unacceptable behavior. Like, this is just totally, I mean, and to get something like this from your parent, but this is what a lot of us are dealing with. I think a lot of us have religious parents, and they're on a very similar tip. It's unfortunate. Did you want to say anything?
No, I'm good. I'm good. You clarified it.
From the group chat. And then she followed up her message with a phone call. She yelled and yelled and yelled and yelled and yelled at me, telling me again that I had gone from agnostic to atheist, and surely next it would be witchcraft. She insisted that I was descending into darkness. There was no other explanation. She kept asking who had bewitched me, because there's no way I would have come to this decision unless I was under some kind of a spell. She was mad that I put this atheist video even close to her family. She said that I should keep her family away from all that nonsense before I, start attracting witches. I am actually very glad this happened over the phone and not in person, because I might have caught some hands. She was so mad. It seems like the word atheist was the final straw. She's probably been told so many horrible things about atheists and their ties to Satan. It might as well be called Satanism to her, and it gives her the heebie-jeebies. She is not interested in hearing anything else. She'll never change her mind on the term atheist, I don't think. Atheism is satanic. During this phone conversation, I tried to explain that, look, my bad, I honestly really thought you already knew. Did we not have this conversation 2 months ago? But then I got upset because I was really trying to convey to her the message that this should not be that big of a shock to you. Even though I had not exactly spelled it out for them in the recent years, I definitely had not said or done anything to make her think that I believed in her hot crock pot of spiritual shenanigans, had I? And also, I've been like this for a long time. It's been about 10 years. If I have been able to avoid detection for the last 10 years and also avoided attracting witches for the last 10 years, I think everything's going to be fine. Relax. Just go back to not noticing stuff and I will never send another video, I swear. And then she hung up, and that's how we left it. So that's where we are, and that's how I came
Go
out as
back
atheist,
to not noticing
I guess.
stuff.
And we have talked since then, but not about
Wow.
this. Honestly, how I feel right now is that if we never end up talking about it again, I think I'll be fine. I mean, we've reached an impasse, I'd say. Our relationship is tense sometimes, but it's not hostile. I am just at a point in my life where living authentically is such a liberating feeling. I do not want to go backwards in that regard. I want to be unapologetically who I am and not be worried about what anyone else thinks, including my family. So we'll see how that goes. There are still a lot of people who don't know. There might be a part 2 to this video. So tell me, have you had to come out as atheist to your religious family? How did it go? What do you fear will happen if you come out? What do you wish you had done differently? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Share this video with a religious family member. As usual, people, don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on your notifications so you get an alert when I post my next video. Thank you for watching.
All right. Great, lover. I don't know what happened to this queen. She hasn't made a video in like 3 years. I'm gonna just hit the video.
She found Jesus.
I'm gonna just hit the video.
Or she became a witch.
I'm gonna just hit the video with a quick comeback. There we go.
Send her a link to today's show.
Yeah, right. No, this was great. So one of the things that was interesting there in the end was the conversation with her mother. Man, this is kind of where I'm at with it. You have these conversations with your family. I've had it, for a long time. Me and my mom just avoided talking about it. We ended up having a blow up about it. And we didn't talk for a long time. I actually told my dad I was probably never going to talk to my mother again.
Wow.
I was really just done. Because it brought out a whole different side of her. So I think for a lot of people, and these are some, I want to let her finish and then talk about some of the issues. So I think for a lot of us, like I said, it's just really tough because you get to that point, and I don't think there is a right decision there. If there is, I don't know what it is. So I know people who have a blow up with their families over religion and don't ever speak to them again. I understand, I get it. On some level, maybe that's the right decision. There's a lot to consider. How bad is it? What's the relationship like? Aside from this and all this other stuff, how much of a support system are they? There's a lot. But there's also considerations of like, solidarity. Is it more important? There's a lot of people could throw out there. But yeah, for me, like that happened. And then, I don't know, we just kind of slowly rebuilt the relationship where we don't talk about it. I think that impasse feeling is very real. But part of that, what I really want to bring up is this is a test moment of so many of these relationships. And there's a way in which you go into it with this optimism. Like, we kind of know our stuff. Like, a lot of us are, I hate to say it, but we're overqualified to have conversations about why Christianity isn't true. Like, we're just so steeped in this culture. It's like you've got a 19th degree black belt in why Christianity is bullshit. Like, you're plenty prepared. But there's this way in which you don't know what it means for their honesty, because it's like you bring these things up, you try to talk to them about it, and it just doesn't go anywhere. And then there's a way, and I think she had this with her thing, and I've had this with my family, like especially like my grandparents and maybe even my mom. Like, I realize they're broken. Like, you get to this point where like, and I don't mean that like sarcastic. Like, they're broken. Like, they just can't even. Like when your parents are like calling you satanic and telling you what that agnosticism is evil and all this, like they're broken. And again, like you said, like, you know, you've been on this path for like 10 years and then they're like wilding out about it. And that's what happens. Like they're not going to be like some high-minded apologetic arguments. There's going to be a whole lot of chest beating and a whole lot of like trying to put you in your place. And you realize like this cult has literally broken these people, and it's a game changer. Like you'll never see them the same way again. And I definitely felt like that happened there. And you just realize you just can't even go there with them. Like you're like, oh my goodness, that was awful.
Well, I think part of what's going on is they feel like they think. Part of their mission, if they're Christian parents, may be to see that you get an education that helps you pursue Christ, right? And if you come to the realization or the mindset, maybe that's the better way, you come to the mindset that Jesus isn't real, heaven isn't real, they feel like they failed you because they probably also believe in eternal conscious torment and expect you to be roasting in hell forever. And it's awful to them. The greatest comeback ever to that, if that's what you're dealing with, is why would a loving God create hell? Wayne says, my mom thinks I'm too smart for religion. And I'm all over here like, yeah.
You know what though? But this is the thing. This is the thing. Like, and this is what I mean about broken. If I said, Mom, we want to build a bridge, should we call the engineers or should we call the crayon experts? All right, we want to have heart surgery. Again, should we call the engineers or should we call the heart surgeons? You know, they're going to answer this question correctly 10 out of 10 times. You want a heart surgeon with a PhD or a sixth grader who said they want to grow up to be a heart surgeon? Like it's these are or MD, these are obvious, right? But religion is that thing where we literally say, oh, the smart people don't believe, the smart people do this thing, and you should not do the thing the smart people do. You should do the thing the naive do.
The Bible literally says that.
Says that. Yeah, it says that in
multiple places.
Book. Yeah, and this is why it's hard to, you know, like I think part of loving people is getting in there with the difficult stuff. And it's just hard for me because I can't celebrate. I have a hard time celebrating another person's faith because I really think they're a victim. I really think like, yeah, okay, you made a castle, beautiful castle on the beach, but you made a shit castle. You made a castle out of shit, and I wish you made a castle out of sand. At least a castle out of sand like belongs here in the beach scene and makes the beach look cool. Your shit castle actually is kind of like, just wish you use something else. It's very difficult because I genuinely think they're in a cult. I genuinely think, and then I think they're so brainwashed that they only care about the cult. So here's some of the challenging things about these things. I talked earlier about credibility with your family. And part of the reason they don't follow your breadcrumbs is because you have a certain degree of credibility, but and so it's they realize, you know, what might happen as a result. But this is one of those things that strains that credibility. This is one of those things where if I could describe the dynamic in my family, if I said don't eat Tyson chicken, like, Mom, don't ever buy Tyson chicken. Why? They have terrible, I watched the documentary, they have terrible business practices and they torture the chickens and it's just unethical chicken torture meat. My family would never buy another Tyson chicken product for the rest of their lives. And it literally would be nothing more than, my son told me it's bad. My son told me it's bad. I believe my son. I'm not going to do it. I could say this about almost anything. Don't buy any more of this person's albums. Don't buy any more TD Jakes albums. He had to step down from his ministry. He's disgraced. He was messing around with boys at Diddy parties. My mom's not gonna call me and be like, "Oh, I just bought this TD Jakes book." It's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. But when you talk about this, these people literally they've put their whole identity and life in Jesus and all of this, and you tell them they're wrong about God, they don't respond, right? They don't say, well, I gotta really look into that. I gotta really check. It's like you have this thing where and it messes up your relationship, because you're like, wow, like I could literally doubt like the most important thing, and that means nothing to you. And that's hard, because you feel like you've been put back at the kiddie table. Like you feel like it comes to something serious. People are like, you're a child. You'll always be a child. You go over there and do child's play. That's super difficult. I also don't know what it means for their honesty. Like how are you honest people once I'm really your son or daughter, your brother, sister, whatever, and I'm telling you this is some nonsense, and you're just gonna say, okay, that's cool, and go on spouting the same stuff. You're gonna go right back to Facebook. Jesus is Lord and God is my King and all of this type of nonsense. It's really, really difficult. And then the final thing I'll mention real quick is that it becomes tough for the fact that they raised you on it. You're not telling this to nobody. You're telling this to the person that dragged you out of bed at 8 o'clock in the morning every Sunday so you could go to Sunday school. That told you that you needed Jesus, and you need to give 10% of your income to the church, and you need to pray over all your important life decisions. They taught you that. And when you're basically coming to them saying, hey, that stuff wasn't true, there's no sense of accountability for their role in indoctrinating with you. And so I think all of those things are very hard, and they're things that I don't think a lot of us come together and have meaningful conversation about.
Well, I want to bring up the concept of mourning. I think they need to consider themselves as someone who tried but isn't a failure. I think they need to realize, probably the easiest thing for them to realize is their teaching, the biblical teachings aren't for everyone. They aren't. We're told that they are, but it just isn't the case. And you can't beat yourself up for it not being the case. A parent would have done what they felt was the loving thing to do, and that's to train up the child in the way that he should go. Because that's what the Bible says.
Right.
And yet, you love someone for whom that wasn't good enough for. You might have poured your heart and soul into their upbringing, and that wasn't good enough for you. Or, I didn't think about this. With the Nigerian woman we just saw in the yellow top, it may be
Omo,
that her mother felt she did everything right. And when her child rejects it, it means she wasn't a good example. She only thought she was.
From my mother, it was also very much like a sense of, like I did what I thought was best for you, and I'm sorry you don't like it, but kind of with like a real bad attitude about it. Like, I'm sorry you don't approve of the way you were raised type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I said, like, it's not that I don't approve of the way I was raised. It's just don't think it's true, right? Like, just don't, like, it's just,
It's real simple. Yeah, we don't need to beat each other up about it, Mom. It's real simple. You believe something I don't, and that is okay. What if
mm,
it was you? Should I be hurt, Mom or Dad, if it was you telling me that you are an atheist? There are plenty of those stories where a parent comes out and tells their children that they don't believe. The children rarely disappear out of their lives. There's rarely any animosity. There's rarely a personal war.
yeah, and
Often I've heard people say, my kids couldn't wait to tell me they didn't believe either. They didn't know how to say it, but they didn't believe either.
mm, yeah, you do hear that sometimes when the parent deconverts first. Um,
Mhm.
it's also interesting too, like, a lot of them already have struggles in the church. They may see abuse that they don't like. They may see, ooh, there's a lot of Trump supporters in this church. I didn't realize that. Ooh, we spend a lot of time talking about things. I don't really understand why we're focusing on this. You have a lot of people who church hop. They never been at a church. It's funny, you'll hear somebody like Rebecca Davis. She'll talk about stuff like, because she's like a LGBTQ affirming Christian, but she said on her
Mhm.
stream, like, yeah, I've been to a lot of churches, and it's going from church to church and all of this. I've never actually been to an affirming church. Right. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of, like, you're hopping from church to church, but you never find the gospel that fits you, fits your personality.
Well,
Um,
that's what a lot of people look for. You want to go to, like the Cheers theme, a place where everybody knows your name. You want to go to the place where you fit into, where you don't have to change so much. Because people who look at their lives and say, I really need to change, are admitting, I've been doing something wrong that doesn't work in the world I live in. How easy or how hard is it going to be to make an adjustment into being another way, into doing something else? Am I going to be more uncomfortable going through the change process or changing than I am now? So when you find a group of people who accept you as you are, it's way easier to change the things you know you need to change.
yeah.
Because those
Um,
people like you now. They like you now.
so Wayne said, I just need to be able to talk to you without you quoting the Bible. Imagine if I was a Muslim and couldn't talk to you without quoting the Quran. I have so many questions about life that I just can't take to my mother simply because Jesus is the default answer to everything. And again, like, that's that should be motivating for a lot of people. Like, I see that as people being robbed of a lot of their relationship. It's not to say that you don't have the relationship around those things, but that's something significant to mourn. To some, I feel the same way. And I hate to say this, even a lot of the people that set it aside is tough, because even if they don't go straight to Jesus as the default answer, he's the rock bottom foundation ultimate answer. And so it's kind of hard to engage on even their other answers, because they're thinking, if path A don't work out or if path B don't work out, it don't really matter, because again, Jesus is gonna make it all right in the end anyway, according to his plan. So I don't know that you even understand the choices of non-religious options. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's very troubling. And I also think it's something that, like, I just don't want this to continue to be like this for people. I do think um, part of what we struggle to to deal with is just really, like, really significantly thinking, like, the same way we think about climate change. This is what this is. It's social climate change, y'all. The same way we're like, yo, we really, all right, like, okay, let's be real. According to most climate change estimates, y'all are gonna survive. You know, like the effects of climate change may not be directly what kills you. This is a very arguable point, but let's just say that that's the case. Most of us are still like, we got to do something different because we can't keep heading down this trajectory and leave this to future generations. You know, we're in the 11th hour where if we don't try something radically different, we're, you know, the planet and the population coming behind us is screwed. I just wish we looked at religion that same way. To say, okay, like, yeah, my family was stuck on this, my parents were stuck on this, my grandparents were stuck on this, but I really don't want to live. I don't want to leave this world like this to future generations. I don't want this to continue to rob families. And that's where a lot of the change in that feeling, you know, going back to that smoking analogy comes from. You know, it's hard to feel good about the music or feel good about the architecture or the sense of the numinous, as my friend Steph often says. I feel like I've been robbed of that too. Like I just don't have that anymore because I'm thinking about all this harmful stuff and not wanting to perpetuate it. And I'm seeing that emotional pull and psychological toll that people pay to deal with this. Um, and it's making me feel differently in my gut.
Well, we all have a range of feelings. I think that the thing to keep in mind is where you want to go, right? You're going to feel all sorts of ways when you get there. I talked to someone who does triathlons, and I was curious about the swimming part. I didn't care about the running or the bicycle, just the swimming part, because
Mm,
she swims when she does these out in the ocean. And I wanted to know, what are the differences? I have a swimming pool here. I can guess what the differences are swimming in a pool and swimming in the ocean. Um, but here's someone with actual experience, so I'll just ask her. And she spoke about how you have to be aware, are you swimming with the current? Are you swimming against the current? Um, she mentioned spotting. I didn't know this term. What do you mean spotting? She goes, every few strokes, like every 3 strokes, you need to look at where you are and make sure you're pointed in the proper direction. So if there's a buoy out there, you're swimming towards the buoy. There's the buoy. There's the buoy. Because you will have to turn yourself
correct. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you're headed in the proper direction. Well, the processes that you, myself, our audience go through in navigating our lives in a very religious nation, often with very religious families, is the
Mm,
same way. We have to know where our buoys are because, in the comfort of an Olympic sized swimming pool, it doesn't matter how long you swim without looking, you're going to touch the wall in less than a minute. You can
right.
be a crappy swimmer like me. You're going to touch the wall soon. And if you need to get out, just pull yourself out. My little dinky pool here, same thing. 5, 6, 7 strokes, maybe 10. You're all the way across from one end to the other of this pool. It's easy. If the water seems treacherous, it's really easy to get out. When you're in the ocean, it's not. The wrong mistakes just take you further out until you can't swim anymore. But if you know where you want to go, as long as you feel good enough to keep going, you're going to get to where you want to be. So I would say that to you and our audience, just keep that in mind. It might be a long swim, but eventually you get out of the water and then they make you get on a bike or start running. I don't know how her triathlons work, but eventually there's another event you need to attend in
Mm,
your life,
right. Right.
or it's the same event, just another leg of that event.
Yeah. 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 It's tough. The other thing I think comes up is and definitely for people of color, is this idea that you're betraying your people or betraying your culture. You know, it's something I'm really like. Again, it's funny because I think you get strong enough for certain situations. It's sort of like the martial arts in that regard. The bigger and stronger you get, the more well trained you get in how to defend yourself, the less likely somebody actually wants to fight you.
Hey, that's all right.
Yeah, and so now it's like the cultural stuff. I'm like, bring it on, but nobody wants to have this conversation with me anymore. But the reality is, I think it's the Christians that again just continue to just want to run on a culture of vapors. You know, when we have serious things to take care of, and y'all want to pray about it in prayer circles, and you know, oh, you know, there's bad things going on in our community. What's the solution? Let's give money to the church. I mean, it's again, it's understandable to me when people do lash out, or when these conversations don't go well, because you certainly get accused of things that a lot of us have very strong opinions that the situation is actually quite the opposite. And yeah, that's just harsh. It's very harsh to hear that. But yeah, my one black friend, you want to give us your closing thoughts?
Let's just replay the swim analogy for those who want to know. I think that's ultimately my closing thought about a lot of things we encounter in Hot Program, a lot of the topics we discuss. You do have to understand what you want. That's your buoy. And once you reach that buoy in the swim, you may want to, if the shore is your next location and it's not another buoy, then swim to the next one. And just keep in mind the whole time, you're worth it. Yes, there'll be moments that are hard to endure, but you can endure. It's just a moment. At some point, it too will be the past.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a great idea. And yeah, I would just say that on kind of the same note, just, you know, live your truth, try to be your genuine self if you can be. Recognize you may compartmentalize different selves. You may, you know, different aspects of yourself. You may not be fully comfortable coming out to family and friends. And you don't have to, you know, you may want to maintain those relationships. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you can, you know, then, you know, just to understand that you don't need like a magic pill or some sort of advanced education in something. You can just be your authentic self and tell your truth. So yeah, appreciate everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Definitely. Thank you all.
As always, be good to yourselves
And each other.
All right, gang. We'll see you next time.